Hey everybody. Okay, so I'm going to try and cover the topic of why is it an agreement? Okay. So essentially in every moment that you're in, you are experiencing things and making decisions. Everything that you do, everything that you see, every experience that you are in a moment of choice. And that kind of goes back to quantum physics a little bit too. That everything is basically boils down to choice. It's all in the moment. And so when you're going through your day and you say, yeah, I like this, and no, I don't like that, or even down to the point of just choosing to be happy or choosing to be sad, or choosing to be in fear. So what I'm trying to say is that everything really is agreement. Everything is an agreement, and the subconscious mind takes all this in, and it's the main driver of your life. So, as I understand it, from all the research that I've done, it's probably somewhere like 90%, somewhere in that window. It really is taking everything in and recording it, and so in the recording of it, it's also recording the choices that you made about those things. So it's storing, and it's running everything. So our conscious mind, I want to share this little piece of information. When I started this process, for me, long before I even had the agreement or understood, I was trying to do the affirmation road. And it took me about 6 months of listening to Louise Hay every morning on my drive in. And I want to tell you that what I had was severe teeth grinding and a lot of stress. And during the day, the changes during my awake state was pretty quick. I felt better. And that only took maybe a couple months. But to the point where the teeth grinding actually stopped, it took about 6 months. So to get these changes into our subconscious mind, usually it takes about 6 months. Well, for me, it took about 6 months. So there's definitely, almost like two sets of data going on. So there's the awake, and then there's this other sleep state. So I'm not a scientist. I not even try. But I'll tell you what I've seen and what I've seen work. And this has been working for people. And because what we're doing is we're making it very known that we're changing these agreements. And there's also a lot of people that, just from what I've seen, they know, that we can be programmed like this. And so there's a lot of stuff being put out there that takes advantage of the fact that we can basically be made into almost like sleepwalkers, because we don't really know what's buried in there, and we don't know how to change it, until now. So, and this is not the only method. There are a lot of other people out there doing this very similar work. How do we change these things? How do we clear the subconscious mind? How do we, there's lots of methods for clearing trauma and changing what we have stored in this mind of ours. Now, I also want to point out, and I did in the book also, that the subconscious mind, at least if my takeaway from what I read from Candace Pert is accurate, is actually stored in every cell, and it's in the body. And so these emotions that we're having when we're choosing to feel a certain way about something, we're making a choice, and we're literally feeding it into our anatomy, into the cells. And so this stuff is stored in our cells. We always think it's just the brain. The brain is processing. And I really have long held this belief that the brain I feel like we're almost wired backwards. Because the brain is really meant to be kind of like a holding pot. And the heart, that heart-centered state, the heart coherent state, which I think if you were to look at like some of the heart math work, and Dan Winter's done incredible work in this, and many others, this is a higher level processing. The brain really does not seem to be operating that way to me. It's especially the more I work with people, and I realize how confused these connections can become, especially when we're little. We make these associations. I remember hearing a story about a woman who didn't get a yellow dress when she was little, and her mom wouldn't buy it for her, and she had such trauma from this that she couldn't see yellow. you know, I had another person that had this is something I'll get more into later also. When she was little, she had a kid in kindergarten that had cornered her and chased her and threatening her, and after that, because that was suddenly an experience and it had gotten into her field, and so she continued to have this situation replicate in her life all of her life, and now she's somewhere in her 60s. So it's very sad. Our brain says, this is what happens, and it makes this connection. And so without us being able to identify what's really, what kind of agreements we've made and what kind of associations we've had with certain things, that's what's running us, but in a subconscious state. So we have no idea why we are doing the things we are doing. And I really want to get into that with people on how you can figure that out. Obviously muscle testing is going to be one real key way of doing this. I want to point you to, you can work with me. Brent Phillips has an outstanding program. It's different. It's a different approach. But there's a lot of similarities. Awakenings Institute, which is where I personally got certified, they are fantastic. They have whole courses on kinesiology. They call it spiritual kinesiology, which really gets into a lot of the muscle testing, and many other classes and courses as well. These are game changer, life change programs. They're great. So these are just two that I had seen. There are many others as well. So it's not impossible for you to figure out what you have there anymore. You can, and it's just a matter of learning the tools to do it and kind of knowing how to navigate your way through figuring it out. But once you know, knowing is half the battle. So once you know, you can clear it. And you can clear it using this method. You just literally will put down new statements and put in statements that you want to take in, put in and take out. So, and then you run the agreement again. So we'll get into that more, but I just want people to understand that these experiences that we have, these beliefs that we have, these choices that we make, the things that we see, we are making some kind of statement to ourselves about these things. And that is what's getting stored, and then it's getting wired in the most magnificently confused ways because it's not accessing the higher state consciousness. Because most of us are hanging out on a predator channel in a fear state, and that does not have access to community, and it doesn't have access to higher level thinking and the ability to transcend those things. So that is why this is in the form of an agreement, and because really everything is agreement. And it's called the I Am Agreement. There's probably a religious connotation to that, but I really feel like we are defining what we are, and we're defining what I am, essentially is the concept. And so that's what that is. And I think, there's another person that I want to mention is Andrew Bartzis, and he's done a lot of work with sovereignty agreements. He kind of has, there's a lot of similarities there too. My hat's off to him. He's great. And so you can also, I put his website in the book also, so go there. You can read it. He has a very shaman, I believe. So he takes a real earth-based approach to all of this, and I tried to incorporate some of that. And I had to rephrase it for the purposes of getting it to fit with the statements. But so it's, these are agreements, and a lot of people have made this connection. Really, it's about you being more deliberate and more intentional about knowing what agreements you had, or at the very least saying what you don't want and what you do want, starting now. And so that's what we're doing, and that's why it's an agreement. Because really, that's how this whole world's been working. So anyway, I just wanted to cover that a little bit for you and explain why this is the format. And, you know, that's pretty much all I have on that.